Hi, Pechis here, and in today's video I'll review the Juto heavy tank from the recently added Japanese heavy tank branch. So, let's get started. Gun on the Juto is nothing really amazing, which of course doesn't mean that it is bad by any means. It just does not stand out in any way from the rest. Alpha damage of 310 hit points is very nice and consistent, and should be just enough for tier 7. DPM on the other note is not so great, and reload time of nearly 10 seconds will keep us waiting for a while. Gunrunner equipment will bring down the reload time to about 9.3 seconds, and the Adrenaline consumable will drop the reload time to nearly 8.3 seconds, while using them together will give us a result of 7.7 seconds. Penetration value is slightly below the average, but from my experience it didn't pose any bigger issue. 180mm on AP rounds did just fine. However, I found myself sometimes switching to premium AP rounds with 255mm of penetration, which were absolutely amazing and definitely ahead of its tier. We can make it even better by equipping our tank with calibrated shells equipment, which will add 9 extra millimeters on AP rounds and 13 more on premium AP rounds, to give us a little edge in those dire scenarios. In short, Juto should do just fine when facing the same tier, but when fighting tier 8 we can easily rely on our premium ammunition. Juto's gun handling has its ups and downs, so it's hard to give a one-sided verdict at the front. Gun dispersion is one of the factors dragging this tank down, since gun on the Juto is widely inaccurate. Refined gun equipment can help a little by bringing our gun dispersion from 0.389 to about 0.350, which obviously won't make Juto sniper alike, but should help with engagements on middle distance. Aim time of 5.3 seconds is again nothing truly impressive, typical value for a heavy tank. By using vertical stabilizer equipment we can lower it to 4.9 seconds, and enhanced gun laying drive can make it even better at 4.8 seconds. And by using them together we get a result of 4.5 seconds. Juto, similarly to Junu, has only 6 degrees of gun depression, but since it's a heavy tank it did not cause bigger problems for me. However, if we want to, we can improve it, thanks to the brand new improved vertical stabilizer equipment, giving us both 3 degrees of gun depression and elevation, making the gun depression value 9 degrees, which I don't think I need to say is a lot. So when we sum up all of the characteristics, we get somewhat decent, typical heavy tank gun with exceptional gun depression. Armor is an aspect that got me a little confused when it comes to the Juto. On paper it seems great, very well angled hull and a sturdy looking turret, but in practice it works out a little different. Hull overall is not really that bad. Upper plate both with side plates are solid, but the hull has a classic weak spot in form of a lower plate, and in this case the middle plate as well. Judging by the previous tanks, you would really expect the lower plate to be more armored, and the middle plate to be the only weak spot, but sadly this is not the case. The main problem however with this tank's armor lays in the very turret, which although may appear very strong, is in fact an easy penetration, especially at the front where the added space armor does not cover the turret, and that's all without even mentioning the typical commander's hatch weak spot. Sadly, the situation gets even worse when we face opponents tier higher, or when enemies switch to premium ammunition, which makes our armor simply ineffective. Mobility on the Juto is fine by itself, but we can improve it even more by equipping our tank with brand new improved suspension equipment. It comes in a place of additional gun depression, but in my eyes this trade-off is absolutely worth it. With this equipment, Juto is visibly more mobile, and makes this tank capabilities and potential much higher. After the games I played with Juto, I sadly must admit that I'm not a huge fan of the tank itself. It has very characteristic traits of a typical heavy tank, but an unreliable armor on top of that, which really breaks this tank for me. It does however introduce us to the brand new equipment available for our Japanese heavy tank from this point on, and I must say it's an interesting and decently introduced mechanic of giving players choice on how they want to play their vehicle, more aggressive and versatile or safely in the hold down position. What also does not help the case of this vehicle is that it's a tier 7 tank, which means it will be encountering smashers and annihilators on a daily basis, which we all know how it goes. Besides the lacking armor, the inaccuracy of this gun could be very frustrating for some. Hitting shots with Juto really requires us to play in the front line most of the time, which obviously takes away from the versatility of this tank. In order to play this tank correctly, we need to take advantage of big alpha damage at our disposal and bounce as many shells as possible with our armor, which all sounds easy on paper, but not necessarily on the battlefield. Going hull down and picking just for a shot are both good ideas, but personally I would advise to stay away from the very front line and try to act as a heavy support. Keeping close to medium distance is recommended in order to hit our shots. I must say that Juto really looks good. The design team did a great job on this one, but the problem is that besides looks, this tank does not really have much going for it. And unless you are a tier 7 enjoyer, I do not really see a bigger place for this tank. And most likely it will be sold by most of the players in order to save credits. So that's how Juto presents itself. Definitely an interesting tank in terms of looks that introduces the new equipment to the game. Solid contender for its tier, but nothing above that. So that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for more, and see ya!